let's look at a word that can emotionally erupt a room. It can emotionally do it, spiritually. It can end up in fistfights.
Yeah.
People have died from it.
Yeah.
There is something that can be uttered out of the mouth.
Yes.
Let's look at this word and let's look at those other etymology of the word, denotative of the word, connotative of the word. Let's take the word nigger.
Yes.
Let's talk about that word so that the community can understand its etymology, what it connotes, what it denotes. Where did it come from?
All right. Now, nigger is actually a scientific word. It's a scientific word that applies to the Anthropopithecus species, which is the orangutan, gorilla, and particularly the Negro Yavera Arebo, which is the black chimpanzee monkey. That's scientific. The scientific word also applies to Paleolith, or the Paleolithic man, or the caveman, both of which you can, once you research, you'll see. It is troglodyte nigger. Troglodyte nigger is the Paleolithic man or caveman, and that same scientific name applies to Anthropopithecus, or the species, chimpanzee, etc. Where and likewise, where the naturalist Charles Darwin speaks, but he speaks limitedly concerning the troglodyte nigger as allegedly one of the stepping stones for the evolution of the human family, which is a false premise, because really the evolution or the hybriding of the Negro Yavera Arebo and the original people through experiments in the Yucatan. As a matter of fact, in Patagonia, which later is now called the Argentina area, and also the lower part of the United States of Brazil, and with experiments taking place in the Pyramid of the Sun, the technology taking place in the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, where the world's largest pyramid was, until they tore it down and started building cities. And when you look in, say, an Oxford Dictionary, or in any of your older, more expensive dictionaries, most of which are not in our communities, your European will admit, hybrid or hybrida, he says, at best, we English are but hybrids. They know that they're hybrids. And that term is dealing with the Paleolithic man, and the reason why they cannot find that so-called missing link, although they keep on finding these skeletons all over the place and saying, well, whoa, this is Lucy, oh, this is the missing link. The truth of the matter is, that is not the missing link, because there is no missing link. The missing link is the experiment that took place in Mexico, in the Great Mixing. This was why I got the term the melting pot, where he was hybrided. Then they took him to Patmos, off the Isle, off of Turkey, from there to the land of Angles. And the land of Angles, when the ancient Asiatics ruled, was called Albion. We called it Albion. That's where we took the albinos. And they do rituals in secret societies where the Moors are on camels running the Europeans across the desert on loincloths. They'll have them in the clan houses or in different Masonic orders, etc. That's a ritual of us taking a hybrid from the south over into the land of Angles, or Albion. And that's what England's ancient name was. So that Paleolithic nigger, that nigger, troglodyte nigger, actually applies to the European. Does not apply to us. However, there are similar words, homonym, sort of like Naga, which deals with a chief or shakun, someone in a position, or high priest, but that's not a nigger. And a lot of people will use homonyms or sounds to try to use it from an etymological perspective to trace that, but that's not where it's at. Nigger is the scientific name for the Anthropopithecus, which is the black chimpanzee monkey. And also Rio Negro, which is the Black River, where the Moors called Rio Negro, where the Amazon near Manaus in the United States of Brazil, where the black waters come through, where the black waters come into that area, and we named that river because of the black waters, because it's totally, it's always churning, but it comes into clear water. And a lot of the, some of the different species that were used in the hybriding experiments including plants, exotic plants, etc., that were used even when that Roman, which means red man, or that hybrid was made, was most of that technology is right here. And so when a lot of people even look at the troglodyte nigger, and they'll be talking in history books, yeah, the troglodyte, them caveman was over there and stuff like that. He was first here. He was a hybrid. He just went in the caves, and some of them were kind of mutable. You could civilize some of them you could not, because they'd eat your babies. And this is one of the problems that we've always had with that hybrid, and by people not knowing the real history of the nigger. All the European did was traded places. When he got in power, he just traded places. So now our people think nigger means dark-skinned people, and it doesn't. It means Anthropopithecus. It's exactly what it means. Go in any quality dictionary in any quality library and read, and it'll give you its scientific name right there.
According to your understanding, is it a bad word?
It's not bad at all.
Okay.
It's sort of like when people are afraid to deal with truths, they run from things. Mm-hmm. And also, like people are scared of the dark.
Right.
When you understand what things are, it's nothing to be afraid of.
It's just understanding. Once you get the understanding of it.
People lack understanding, but that lack of understanding comes from which we all agree to. We will agree that our people are miseducated, and then often when you give them the principles of education, they're rejected because it doesn't fit their beliefs. But most of their beliefs are based in misunderstanding, miscomprehension. And this is back to, me and the doctor was talking about even before, at the other class. Basically, and this is where etymology comes in as important. Because what happens in between with social engineering, connotative linguistics are introduced in different communities for social controls. Then they become the realities to these people. Do you understand? Not knowing that certain things are designed to groom, to pocket, or to disconnect. And this is how connotative linguistics is used. And so when you get used to that, people start accepting it as real.
Really, this is going to sound silly, but this is really, really important. Cutting edge genetics. One of the areas I'm really lucky I'm blessed to work in 3 distinct areas of biology: immunology, genetics, and reproduction. And on the genetic side, I get to go to conferences and hear about advances in genetics in all species. And I was just at one a couple of weeks ago down at the Cold Spring Harbor Lab in Long Island, and I learned a bit about what's being known about the genome of Neanderthals, the genetic makeup of Neanderthals. The genome sequencers, led by Svante Pabo, who works in Germany, has taken tiny little fragments of Neanderthal bones, isolated DNA, and determined the genome of the Neanderthal, and used that information to determine, using genetic methods, how long ago Neanderthals and humans were a single species, where the common ancestor was. They've also been able to compare human genomes and ask the question of whether there's any evidence of Neanderthal genes in the human genome. And they found that there is. And the amount is quite significant, upwards of 5 to 7%. Neanderthals used to live in the Neander Valley. You could have called it the Cayuga Lake Basin, but that's where they lived. And out of Africa came the modern humans, and the word the geneticist uses, admixed. They admixed with the Neanderthals. And they all used to live in caves in those days like this. Came out of Africa, admixed with the Neanderthals. This was Neanderthal territory. There was another group of Neanderthal-like creatures called the Denisovans. They lived up here in Siberia, and they have their genome has been sequenced. They were distinct from the Neanderthals. And so you can find in people of European and Asian ancestry evidence of about 7%, 5 to 10% of your genome is common with that of Neanderthals. We've been separated from them for 30,000 years or so. And in some of the tribes in Papua New Guinea and those islands out there, there's evidence for a different kind of genome, which is probably the Denisovan genome. And they might have 7% Neanderthal and 5% Denisovan. So they might be 12 or 15% different from us. And in fact, the Africans who came out from Africa have no evidence of any Neanderthal genes in them. No evidence of that mixture. So they're the real pure humans. Homo sapiens. Really, really interesting. It gives you a lot to think about.